Hey everybody, it's Rocky with Family Group Consultants. In the past, y'all may have noticed we've been sharing our Thursday sales training sporadically, and my partner Dwayne and I actually sat down over the weekend and decided that going forward, we actually want to share at least one of these trainings per month. If you have any questions, feel free to write inside the comments and you just ask us whatever question you have in regards to the content shared from the video. Our goal is to help you work less, play more, spend less, make more. And one way you'll be able to start doing that right away is by clicking in the link below and getting access to our free lead generation system. Now, there is a catch to that. The catch is you only have 24 hours to actually utilize the content within the downloads and actually set up your lead generation system. If you're wondering, why would y'all send us something for free and only give us 24 hours to use it? The truth is we want to help action takers, not people who have problems find the solution and never implement the solution. Outside of that, let's jump into this live training video. Again, if you have any questions about the things that we're talking about in the video, feel free to ask those questions in the comment section. Have a blessed day.
I do, Rocky, if I may, man.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the training was outstanding. I've already have some nuggets that I'll be able to implement today. So thank you for that.
This is very enlightening, very, very informative, very good. And there's just so much to learn and to rethink, just kind of reset how we communicate as insurance agents, as we try to, educate and persuade instead of convince them to buy. And I really like to just to really think, that stuck out to me, like the importance of that pause, how important it is to know when to pause. I mean, it's a lot of gathering. It's, I'm sopping it all up and soaking it up. But I have to say, you guys, I like the fact that you think outside of the box and you're not like doing things the traditional way. And I really am so, all enthused about your method of interacting, not even sales, because we're doing it as if it's not even selling. I would say your method of educating the customer and persuading them to see the importance of having life insurance or whatever that is. So again, guys, you're doing an amazing job. I'm excited to be a part of this progress, not just process, but the progress. And to everybody else, I'm JB. I'm so glad to be here, and we're all going to be amazing. We're all going to do great. We're just going to change. I think what you guys are actually doing, we're definitely going to show that this 92% does not have to be. So you're going to show that your team is not going to be 8% successful. So you're going to defy that law of insurance success, not 8%. This right here, we're turning it around and we're switching it around, is 92% success. So thanks again, guys. You're awesome.
And you're going to find that the way that we have to communicate, this is the way that all professionals communicate. It's not just us, right? The difference is just that, when you go to a doctor, like you have to go there, right? You have to be seen and be treated by this doctor. And they already have the trust that us as an independent sales rep don't have, because we're not known like, the title doctor. Okay, so again, the title of this is Daily Communication and Sales Communication. So I just want to start this off with just simply saying, save your breath, right? Everybody, like when you go into your process, save your breath. Have anyone ever heard someone say that before? Like, you experience like a argument, anything going on, a person just like, look, save your breath. Anybody ever heard somebody say that?
Probably should say it to myself often.
Okay. So you heard people say that. So typically when somebody says save your breath, what does that statement actually mean?
Maybe keep your thoughts to yourself.
Keep your thoughts to yourself. What else?
Don't waste your time.
Say that again.
Don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time, right? Now, This is how our prospects feel about us. That's how they feel about us. They don't want us trying to sell them things, right? Think about an agent inside the house. Oh yeah, so look, the policy, it does this. I know you have that in place, but that is this, and you don't really need that. You don't need that because you need this. This is much better. You know, you can cancel that one. You can do this, and I think this, and this is why I think you should do that. So like they're just running 1,000,000 miles per minute. Like your mouth is literally running 1,000,000 miles per minute, and your breath is running out. Right. So what happens when you run out of breath? Matter of fact, a better question: what would happen if you were in a sparring boxing match and you ran out of breath, but
Get
your
knocked
opponent is
out.
standing right? Your opponent is standing strong. You're gonna get knocked out.
Right.
Right? Think about it. You're giving everything in your arsenal. For us, our
Mm.
arsenal is, you know, whole life, term, IUL, you know, the things that we know about this person and what type of situation that they need to be in or they should be in. That's our arsenal. When we just running at the mouth, we're giving it all to them. And now we don't have nothing at the end. Right? And our opponent is left unfazed pretty much. Same thing in a boxing ring. You sitting there throwing everything, the person is, they're left unfazed. Like you're tired, they're not, you're going to lose, right? You're now out of breath and the knockout is heading your way. So after a salesperson blurred out all of the good stuff, the reasons the prospect should buy were gassed. And we expect to get a yes. But the prospect with all of their reserved energy is just staring at you, right? Staring at you, smiling, and they're just going to respond with something as simple as, let me think about it. So for them, the game is over. That's checkmate right there, right? When you done already gave them everything, you don't have nothing to go back on because you done gave them everything. So the out of breath agent is like, wait, there's more, save your breath. Like that's it. So as you can see, the more reserved has more advantage. Okay, the more reserved has more advantage. Now, being reserved isn't always necessary, but it is in sales. Now, one place is not necessary is with our friends and family. So we have to, know how to draw the line. Operating in a sales communicative state would make for an annoying friend, right? Like, or, even family member. Think about you hanging out with your friend and they say, hey, Sergey, what's your favorite color? And you respond with, good question, what's yours? Right? They might not think much of it, but if they didn't ask you, hey, who do you think is the better basketball player, Kobe or LeBron? And you say, I need to think on that. Who do you think is better? You'll probably be one question away from losing a friend, right? So that's not the place to use that. We want to use that more so in our sales processes, okay? So let's get into this. I'm going to cover 4 points on the subject. And if you're going to take away anything from this presentation, I want you to jot this down, okay? Talk to friends like friends and talk to prospects like professionals, okay? This is the idea that I want everybody to walk away with out of everything that I'm going to talk about today. Talk to friends like friends and talk to prospects like professionals. Now, this is important to you because we have to somewhat have somewhat of a guideline when our profession is based on our communication with people, right? We need some sort of distinction so we can know when our daily communication talk is pretty much necessary in our business. All right. So I'm going to jump into this first topic right here. I'm trying to change this slide. All right. So as far as the topics, these are the four different areas right here. Okay. I want to cover who uses sales communication and why sales communication is important. Right. Also, I want to cover how we can differentiate from our everyday communication and sales communication. Then also, I want to go over the downside of what sales communication is, and then, show you the blending of those two methods of our daily communication and sales communication. Okay. Anybody have any questions right now? All good. So let me ask this, right? Who use sales communication and why is sales communication important? I just want to hear 1 or 2 answers.
Salespersons.
Okay. Salespersons and who else?
Oh, well, who uses sales communication?
Us in our daily life, right? Because we're always selling ourselves essentially.
Absolutely. Now, why is it important?
Get you where you want to be.
Get your point across.
To get our point across, right? Now, like I will agree with that to an extent. And again, it's just like all of this is so, I'm gonna say it's just so like it's like like everything is borderline with each other because it's so abstract, right? So the best thing that we all can do is like take like ideas that align with each other in the best way possible, right? So when we talk about, communication and getting our point across, for me personally, I would say that align more with the convincing side, not the persuasive side. And the only reason I say that is because we could get our point across to somebody and they can be convinced on the idea, but still not take action, right? So I would actually say that, it's important because we want people to take action, right? We want people to take action. Now, when you think about, the people that use it, again, like all professionals use it, doctors, lawyers, detectives, think about like all the different professionals that you came across, any establishment you walked into, right? Like a doctor, for example, like when you go to a doctor, imagine if a doctor just blurted out everything, everything that they know, right? That they study all those years. Like you walk into their office and they're like, oh man, you ain't looking like you in the best shape right now. It look like you could have cancer, you could have HIV, you could have this, and they just name everything that you could have, right? And then be like, look, oh, you mind if I take a look at you? After they named you probably gonna be sitting there looking at them like, I do mind. I do mind, and I don't want you taking a look at me. You done scared the hell out of me. Right? Like, so we don't know what our actual problem is. That's why we're going. We may know like some symptoms that we have, and that's why they'll start to do a fact finder first, just like we have to do. You'll come in, they'll say, hey, what's been going on? What brings you in today? Right? That's typically like their type of opening. What brings you in today? Okay, yeah, I just got like a little cough. Okay, I hear, I can see that. I see. Is there? Let me check you out. Let me see if there's any wheezing going on. Okay, we have a little wheezing. How long has this been going on for? Okay, is there anybody else? Have you been around anybody else? So now you see they start to dive deep and they're just asking you these questions before they can actually make any recommendations or, do anything to try to figure out what's actually going on. Right now, think about lawyers. Same thing with lawyers when they sit in there cross-examining somebody. They sit there, they ask a ton of questions. I don't, so many different cases you could bring up, but you could just, let's just say, you got somebody who's like, on trial for like, let's just say robbing a bank or something like that, right? And you got somebody sitting, and the guy was masked up and everything. They didn't really see his face, and they're just saying some, hey, sir, so now let me.
Your mic cut out, Rocky. Hey, Rocky, your mic cut out. Anybody hear Rocky?
I can't.
No.
I don't know if he hears us.
Yeah, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
All right, perfect. Listen, I'm literally talking, right? And all I hear is Siri go off on my headset saying, oh, I'm Googling right now to see if how to rob a bank. I'm like, whoa, that's not what I said, Siri. Technology is crazy. But yeah, this all this stuff is just so connected as well. But I was just saying, like, they do a cross-examination, right? They're going to ask a whole bunch of questions. So who were you with on, Saturday? How many of you was it? What time did you guys go out? What made you go there that day? So they're just asking a lot of questions, right? So they can try to get you to trip up on something, and that's a whole nother conversation to try to find inconsistencies. But that's a whole nother conversation. But when you're asking a whole lot of questions, that's what you'll start to find, right? And then also you can start to dig deeper into these topics, right? As far as mastering this, right? We ask ourselves, why is sales communication important to master? And again, it's because it's a way to find problems, and it's also a way to provide solutions, right? Again, us providing solutions is somebody else taking action by moving forward with us. And that's what we want at the end of everything that we're going to be doing, okay? And this does not just work in our professional life, it works in our personal life as well, just like Thompson said, right? It's a way to get people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it, right? That's where we want people to arrive at. We want them to arrive at a place where we already know we want them to go, but we want them to want to do it, okay? So it's all about the way you set those questions up, right? The way you set those questions up, us like really locking in and locking in and listening to all the answers they say, and just keep connecting everything, and keep like unfolding like little answers that they're giving you, and all of that is going to allow you to be able to help them move forward in the end. Okay, so when we ask ourselves how to differentiate from everyday communication and sales communication, how do we differentiate from everyday communication to sales communication? Right? I say statements is pretty much daily communication, right? Statements. Again, hey, let's just say you sitting there talking to one of your buddies. Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, what's up, friend? I'm about to go over here and hang out, man. You should go check this out. I was just down there having a good time. Or, hey, look, I just became an insurance agent. I'm about to start selling life insurance. This is going to be pretty sweet. Everybody going to want to buy from me, man. I know all these people. I'm just so pumped up. So we're just so used to talking like that, like to our friends, just having conversations about anything. We'll ask a question, let's just say like one question, and we'll probably say, hey, you seen the game last night? Yeah, I seen the game. Yeah, it was crazy, right? You seen how LeBron did this and this happened and that happened? Man, and we just keep rambling. And again, that's cool for daily conversation, right? That's cool for that, but it has to switch for sales communication. And sales communication, when you find yourself doing majority of the talking, now you know that it's a problem. Right now, it's a problem. Whenever you're doing more talking than everybody else, it's a problem, because you're not going to learn anything, but the person you're talking to will be educated. Right. I mean, even just think about like what I'm doing right now. I'm standing here, I'm speaking, right? I'm talking, sharing information. So it's like with me sharing information, I don't gain anything, right? Because I'm the one that's talking. So you guys are on the receiving end, so you can pick up on whatever it is that I'm trying to share right now. So when we're in a sales situation, we want to be that same person, that the person that's on the receiving end, and we're leading them with those questions, right? We want them to be out of breath, not us, right? We want them to be like, think about it, right? Like if you sitting there, if you're the one that's like talking and everything, you just, yeah, I got this, I got that, I got this. And when they say, I'm not interested, you like, well, what you mean? But wait, you still trying to go. You can't, like you could barely focus. If you know what it feels like to be out of breath, like, like your lungs and everything is closing up, like your mind is like not exactly where it need to be. All these things is falling apart. So when you're in more of a lessened state, right? Now, the person who is still got all these stuff together because, they was intact, they wasn't doing anything, allowing you to do all the talking and everything. They can sit there and really think about everything. And when they do that, when you're trying to ask them to move forward, they can realize that, wait a minute, I don't know what I'm moving forward to. I don't have any problems. You sound like the one with the problem. You talk too much, right? Like, so we got to reverse that trend. We got to make them give us everything, make them just go and go and go and go and go. Okay. Another thing is if you feel like you're trying, right? If you feel like you're trying to make the sale, then sales communication is actually, I'll say the sales communication is actually a lazier method for you to communicate with somebody. Right. It's so easy. When I say that, I mean, it's easy because you get to be lazy. Like you get to be the one to just sit back while somebody else is just talking. And you can literally, like, while somebody is saying, oh yeah, I just want to make sure, my family is taken care of. They sitting there saying all these words and you go, and what else? And what else? That's 3 words. And now you can get a whole bunch more just from saying that. And all you got to do is just listen, because they're telling you exactly how to close the sale. They're telling you exactly what you need to know to close the sale. That makes sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
How we should approach this, right? Like one thing for myself, right? Like in any sales process, I don't feel like I'm trying to sell like anything. I never feel like I'm actually selling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because like I know all I got to do is just keep asking questions, and if there is a real need for whatever program or product it is that I'm selling, if the need is there, all I have to do is align the need with the product.
Right.
And it comes down to if the person actually can afford it or not. You know what I mean? That's all it comes down to.
Right.
But I never feel like pressure or anything. Like, I don't ever feel pressure. I don't feel like I have to rush, like none of that. because I know that if I rush, if I do start feeling pressure, you know, I'm not going to be able to think as thoroughly as I need to think, and I'm not going to be able to listen. We only feel
Right.
that pressure, you know, and start those, you know, feelings of anxiety and things like that when like we're thinking ahead already. We're thinking about like, man, like if let's say you ask a question and the person is giving you some answers that's making you feel like, man, I'm not about to get this sale. This person don't seem like they're gonna want to buy anything from me. And we thinking all about that. So we thinking about the end of this thing. That anxiety start coming up. Right. And then our communication start to just fall apart. Like instead of us, you know, staying poised, you know, keep it. If we started off with a smile, we should. If we started off with a smile, like, yeah, so who's going to be that? And the person is like, oh, well, I don't think I want nobody. Well, what do you mean by that? Like we start like, well, right, because we like, oh, I just drove out here, and like, why are you telling me nobody? Like, that don't even make sense. You had me drive all the way out here because our mind is all the way at the end of that sale. But if we're listening, we could just sit on that point, take our time. Oh, that's I don't hear that too often. If you don't mind me asking, you know, is there anybody that you care about at all, or you just there's no one that you care about at this point in life, right? Like you could just ask people, like question these things, right? Trust me, you question them, you're gonna find something. Like chances are you may find that the person just say, yeah, I really don't care about anybody, nobody care about me. And again, that's when we can like go into a somewhat of a therapist session, because they're just like us as well, right? They ask a lot of questions, uncover needs, and then provide solutions. So we can provide a solution for that right there. Why don't you care about anybody? Oh, because, you know, nobody care about me. Well, what did you do to deserve that? I don't know. Right? Like, and so start really getting, it's so easy to just keep asking questions about things. And people like this is when you're asking these questions, think about it. A lot of people not sitting there asking themselves these questions, and everybody isn't coming to them asking them either. Because if they did, it would no longer be a problem. They wouldn't be telling you something like that. Right? It would already be done. So now for us, like if we're going to get more sales than like the average person, we're going to be able to solve all these little personal problems they have leading up to the sale. You know, if we come across things like that. Right? There's so many solutions that we can provide, you know, for just about anybody. And, you know, it just makes us so much more valuable. So again, like imagine if you're sitting there asking a question, right? And somebody is spitting out 100 words to your 2 words. Like who's getting more information? Right? Like you're getting more information. You need that, right? To close the sale. Like, and I'll give you an example. When I first started selling insurance, right? My presentation was like most people's, it was, hey, so yeah, who's going to be the beneficiary? Okay, who's going to, you know, do you want to have a funeral cremation? All right, and do you know what the average cost is in your area? Okay, so yeah, so I'll show you 3 options, you know, we'll see if we can get you approved for something. And then at the end, they like, oh, well, look, let me think about it. And I used to be like, yo, this is crazy. I'm getting in front of all these people. Why do all these people need to think about it? I'm like, yo, I know that they need it. And this is the thing. It's like, I know that they need it, but they don't know. Right? I know that they need it, but they don't know. And it's because I didn't ask them the questions to help them come to that realization on their own, from their own thoughts. Right? If you're putting out 100 words and they're giving you the 2, you know what I mean? Like you're losing. If you're like, oh yeah, so term work like this and whole life work like this, and you know, you have it through your job. If you leave your job, you know, it's going to, you're not going to be able to take it with you. And they'd be like, is that so? Yeah, that's so. It worked just like that. And then you start giving out more, like they literally controlling your presentation. We supposed to be that is that so person. We're supposed to be that what else person. We're supposed to be that, is there anything else you haven't mentioned person? Right? That's how we keep getting people to just unfold and unfold and unfold. And you want to do that until they don't got nothing else left. Right? Like you literally, like you ask a question, you know what I mean? And you say, what else? They go, oh, well, I think this and I think that. Okay, is that all you think? And now they think of some more. Oh, well, you know, you got their mind moving now. Right? And this is another thing, right? Like people can feel that you're helping them when you're doing this, when you're asking these questions. Right? Like when you asking questions and you make people think, like literally in our minds, there's like new like neural connections that's being made for that. Like when you start to think in ways that you have never thought before, there's literally neural connections that start to form in your mind. Right. And it's just like that feeling, the light bulb went off. What's the light bulb? The light bulb is those connections that's being made because somebody came along and helped you out with something. Right. So imagine if you're sitting there presenting to somebody, you're asking them questions, and they're getting the feeling that you get when the light bulb went off. Right. Like how they're going to feel about you. Like, wow, man, I never even thought about that. That's going to just add more value to everything that you're doing. So a lot of times when you're doing that for people, they're going to want to give you the sale. Like, again, like the stuff that we talk about in these trainings, right? Like, again, I tell everybody, this is like, you can make sales without anything that we teach. You can make sales without any of it based off activity. Right. But with this type of knowledge and applying these type of things, like I just say, look at all of it as just like tools, right? Like you're Cornelius the person, but you can take the stuff that we teach and whatever else you learn from anybody and just use it as tools. Like I'm coming in your house as Cornelius, right? And I hear you trying to take over my presentation. It's time for me to take out my tool to show me how to like regain control, right? Like I'm not trying to swindle you. I'm not trying to sway you, but I have to use these tools to control this conversation because I have to help you realize the problems that you have. And I can't do that if you're rushing me, you know, if you're trying to encourage me to just tell you everything without me taking my time to ask you any questions. Right. Again, think about, I always use the doctor. I mean, because like that's somebody that just have so much respect from, you know, just from people in general. Like we're not walking into the doctor's office and telling Doc, hey, Doc, look, I need you to move that over here and move this over here because I'm not sitting on that side of the room. Nobody is doing that. Nobody not doing it because we respect the doctors, right? So again, we got to demand the same respect for ourselves, you know, as insurance agents, because we are just as valuable. And I mean, if you think about this, right, like the highest paying doctors, you know what I'm saying? Like take like the highest paying doctors and take the highest producing insurance agents and see if the salary is coming close. The highest paying doctors and the highest paying insurance producers. See if you got doctors getting paid, you know, $4 million in a year because, you know, and I'm talking about even at like 20 years into this thing, right? A doctor that been a doctor for 20 years, big shot. Like, see if he could get paid $20 million in a year. Because that's what a lot of guys that like been in insurance for, you know, 20 plus years and been like actually dominating over that period of time. Right. So we just got to understand how valuable it is what we do. And also how difficult it is. That's the real part of why we get paid so much. This is difficult. This is very difficult, right? Like as independent agents, it's very difficult because we're responsible to go out and find people and make people become interested in giving us the opportunity. Right. It's almost like we're trying to hit the lottery every single day, but that's also the bonus of this, right? Like we have the opportunity to hit the lottery every single day. If we talk to enough people and communicate effectively, we can hit the lottery every single day. Right. So that's pretty much how we want to approach this whole thing. OK, so we want to go into the next one. So we say, what's the downside to sales communication? Right. The downside, I would say, is, you know, turn it more into an interrogation. That's what we don't want to do, right? We don't want to make people feel like they're being interrogated. So it's a way, you know, that we ask our questions, but keep it conversational, right? Like you can have the conversation. You could be sitting there. Yeah. So let me ask, you know, based on everything, you know, who would pretty much be the beneficiary? You know, God forbid, pass away tomorrow. Who'll be the person to pick up the pieces? Oh, it would be my wife. She would definitely be the beneficiary. Okay, that's pretty sweet. And has she ever, you know, experienced something like that before? No, she haven't. You know, do you know anybody that ever experienced losing somebody? Well, yeah, I know somebody that experienced. I mean, the person that they lost, did they have life insurance at all in place? Yeah, they did. So I'm assuming that went a lot more smoothly for them. Would you agree with that? Yeah, and I'm assuming that's why you probably want your wife to be able to be taken care of the same way your friend was taken care of. Am I right to assume that as well? Yes. So it's like I just asked a lot of questions, but it don't sound like I'm interrogating a person. It sounds like I'm just trying to figure these things out and make sure I hear what you're telling me. Right. also what I'm doing for you is I'm assisting this person, right? Like I'm assisting them, leading them along and filling out their thought for them. Right? The person just gave me this one thing. I want them to understand why they want to do it, because they don't know why they want to do it. I don't even know why they want to do it yet. That's why I asked the questions first. Well, do you know somebody that had insurance before? Yeah. Okay. And so when they passed away and they had the insurance, I'm assuming that made everything go smoothly. Is that what happened? Yes. And I'm assuming you will want the same thing to go for your wife. Is that correct? Oh, absolutely. So you see, like it's this, I'm leading them in a direction based off my questions, and I'm filling out their thoughts. So now it's like the person said to me, oh yeah, like Rocky, so yeah, I want to pretty much make sure my wife is the beneficiary, because I had a friend that passed away, right? And I know that his when his father passed away, my friend received a life insurance policy and it made everything go smoothly. So I want to make sure the same thing goes smooth for my wife. But that's what we just made them communicate, just from questions and leading them along. Right. Now, another thing that make this, I'll say that make it a little difficult or give it somewhat of a downside is when you hit a soft spot and not know how to handle the negative reaction. Right. Let's just say, you ask a question and a person, let me check this real quick. I don't know what's going on, y'all. Somebody put something in the chat. I can't see it because I don't know what's going on.
Oh, that was me. I was just saying I really like that example that you gave.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to click. I'm like I'm just having all these tech problems. All this money on like high-end technology and you still get problems. It's crazy.
That's life.
Right. But look, so like so again, like I'll say another downside is when you hit a soft spot pretty much, right? And the person respond with like a negative reaction. Let's just say you ask them a question like, yeah, so let me ask you, I mean, I'm assuming you want to get this taken care of because let's play it back. So who's going to be the beneficiary? Oh, it would be my wife. Okay. And has she ever experienced, somebody passing away? And yeah, she actually did. And it was her mother, and her mother had a policy, so you get all the information. Okay, so I'm assuming that's why you want to make sure she's taken care of from you as well. Yes, that's correct. And is it right to assume that she would actually allow you to do this, by yourself without her being here? So let's just say if I say something like that, I use the word allow. This is a man that's like extremely macho and he feel like, like his wife shouldn't, you know what I'm saying? Like allow. Right? Like just, it could be anything. You never know who, how people are until you ask a question and they respond a certain way, or I'll say react a certain way. Right? So let's just say you ask it and they're like, allow. Nobody allowed me to do anything. I do what I want. Right? I had somebody say something like that to me before. Like, so when a person say that, we still got to, stay in our sales communication mindset and not our day-to-day, because that person in your day-to-day, you might be somebody that be like, well, I don't know who you're talking to. Like, you could calm down. I ain't mean it like that, right? Like, and you could like get on their level, right? They go up here. You was here this whole time. They go up, and then you go up with them. We don't want to do that. Okay, we want to like stay in our sales communication mind, right? Understand that we are professionals and we are high expensive paid professionals, right? So when you're getting paid a lot of money, you can't react like somebody that's not, right? Or you pretty much don't have control over your emotions. Most people that don't have control over their emotions are not having their way unless they're, kissing somebody's behind to get what they want, right? But that's not none of us in here. So if they go all the way up here, right, and you're in this middle, you want to pull them back down with you, right? So if the person react like that, yeah, well, look, I don't know what you mean allow. Like, I control my household. Nobody allows me to do anything. Oh, I can appreciate that. So I actually didn't mean anything by that. However, I just know in some relationships, some men and women, some spouses, they actually make decisions together. Some people tell me that they actually don't like making a decision at all without the spouse being there. So again, I don't like to assume anything. I just wanted to make sure, but I do appreciate you for sharing that with me. And then I'll move on to my next question. With that being said, and now I'm leading myself to my next question. So you see how like the person is all pumped up and they like ready to like, probably throw a punch, and then they like, oh, all right, he got me. He know, like you make them feel like they just, they, in Philly, we use the word chump, which means they, like they made you feel lesser of a person pretty much. We want to let them feel like they're way bigger than us. That's cool. We ain't there for that. We there to solve a problem, right? So anytime you get those negative reactions, I would just say that just make sure you stand in your communicative mind, your sales communication mind, and you're just gonna pull them back down to exactly where you need them to be at to make the sale, right? It's probably I know it's rarely that you will ever see somebody make a sale with somebody upset like that. Like if you try to, sometimes let's just say if you don't pick up on that person's tonality, on the shift, on the energy of the conversation, even if this is over the phone, you can feel it over the phone. If you don't pick up on it and you just try to go straight through, it's all like you already lost, because now that person is stuck there, right? They're stuck there. They don't want to move forward like with you at all, like until you fix that. So we actually have to fix these little hiccups that pop up in the presentation when it happened. Something like that, we got to fix it, and then we can move forward. So again, like there's other ways you can look at this and try to create like some type of visual for yourself. Like for me, in my head, it's literally like I visualize like a line in my head sometimes, right? It's like this line in the middle, and then it's like red and it's like blue at the bottom. And if I feel like, like this person has just jumped up on me in my mind, I'm like, all right, I gotta let me bring this person back down some. Right. So that's just like something that worked for me when I'm trying to like keep things level pretty much. Okay. Now, another downside is this, right? The other party wanting your contribution to the conversation. Right. Like when you ask me so many questions, remember, like we do have to contribute to the conversation. So I know, we're always talking about asking questions, which is what we're supposed to be doing. But when we don't give out any statements, we are not contributing at all. Right. So think about it. Conversation, conversing, right? Exchanging information. So that's what we want to do. We want to exchange information, but we want to do it at a much lower clip than what they're doing it at. Okay. Like they're supposed to be giving us information all throughout, the entire time. For us, we're supposed to just give them little corrections. Like, let's just say, for an example, if you're like teaching like your baby how to walk, right? Like you like they about to fall, you like, oh, all right, you put your hand behind them, wait, I got you, push up. You push them again, they about to fall again. Start pushing them up a little more, nudge, right? Like, so just think about that when you're in your sales process and you're having these conversations with people, when you're asking a lot of questions. Like as soon as they give you the opportunity where they say something that need correction, then you can, butt in there with something. Like, let's just say was somebody trying to say something? Okay. So yeah, so let's just say, you're in that sales conversation with somebody and, you ask them a question like, well, do you know the difference between term and whole life? And the person said, yeah, I know the difference. With a whole life, I know that's something that you get to have for your whole life. And with that term policy, you get to have it, for your whole life, but it pretty much come, a lot cheaper pretty much. I'm not sure why, but I know it comes a lot cheaper. That's when it's time for us to make a statement. Right now, again, I know some people some people will make the statement, and the problem is you'll just forget about everything, and then you'll just run off from there with all statements. And let's just say if up to this point, you were doing really well with just, controlling it, sometimes you will actually, and this happens a lot when you first start, like really approaching your business this way, because it takes practice, right? But, you'll ask a question, they'll make a statement, they'll give you some answers where would need correction. So now you're like, well, with the term policy is actually temporary. So you were right about the cost being much lower, but that's why it's lower. It's lower because it's a temporary program. And then, you could just say something like, does that make sense? They might say, yeah. And so as far as the term policy, what's your understanding of it now? So you see, like I've regained that control, but also now I'm going to make you explain this to me to make sure you understand what this actually is. Right. So at the end of the presentation, if you decide on a term or a whole life, because again, we want them to decide, we're not picking for them. If you decide on a term or a whole life policy, you know what you pick, because I'm only there to make corrections and give you the accurate information, the truth of everything, the facts. I'm just there to allow you to make a decision. I'm there to give you the information so you can make a decision based on facts. Right. And that's pretty much how we want to approach that whole thing around that. Okay. So
Yeah.
that leads me.
I think Jocelyn had a question. Yeah, question, Jocelyn?
I think he answered it though, because I was saying that when you ask the question and they answer like, so why did you um decide to get a whole life? Like what's your reason for wanting to get this insurance now? And they give the explanation like my wife, whatever. Do you respond and say, great, or something just to confirm what they just said?
Yes. Yeah. So that's exactly, what we're talking about right now, right? That's how we ended off that last section. And now that's what this is actually about, blending of the two modes. Okay. So now to answer what you said, though, that's exactly what we want to do, right? Like when we ask certain questions, like everything somebody say don't deserve a response, only because we want to actually wait until they finish communicating their thought, right? Sometimes like we'll ask a question and somebody start talking, they'll give us the first thing. Like, let's just say if you're like, oh, well, who's going to be the beneficiary? Oh, the beneficiary is going to be my wife. And like, they may be ready to say something else, but you jump in so quick, right? Because you're ready to move to your next question, right? Like, oh, well, do you know if you want a funeral or cremation? Now they can't even dive deep into that. And that person may have been ready to, go all out on you and tell you all this stuff that, they had up there, these reasons that they had why they wanted to do that, without you even asking them to dive deeper into that, right? So let's just say, for example, right, we're talking about blending the two modes. We're talking about combining your day-to-day communication skill with your sales skill. Doing that will separate you from most sales reps, okay? Not only combining questions and statements together, but knowing when it's important. That's what's most important about this, knowing, when we actually have to do this. So let's just say, again, I asked that question. So yeah, who's going to be the beneficiary? It's going to be my wife. And I'll still be quiet. I'll let them see if they got something. And yeah, I want to make sure, she's taken care of. And, I just want to make sure everything is okay. I can see that. Right. So that's just me making a statement. I ain't ask. I can see that. And I'll give a little pause to see if I'm going to get some more. A lot of times you will. Right. Or right. Yeah, I just want to make sure my wife is taken care of. Yeah, okay. And now you can come up with another question because you see they actually came to a pause. They came to a stop. And if you want to, if you feel like, they're not truly sold on that, because don't ever just take that like that they're sold on that idea, right? That could just be a want right now. That's something that they want to do. We got to take it from want to need. So we take it from want to need by making them dive deeper into those statements. Yeah, I want to make sure my wife is, I just want to make sure she's taken care of. Okay, I can see that. I mean, why is that? Have you ever experienced somebody who passed away and didn't have coverage before? Right. So you see how you ask that kind of question. They may say, I haven't experienced it myself, but I know somebody that had. Everybody knows somebody that passed away without coverage. Right. And even if they don't know somebody, they hear about it. Right. Everybody is well aware of GoFundMe. You know what I mean? So it's like when you ask that question, it doesn't matter if they actually experienced it, they may know somebody else, or they know that it happens, period. So let's just say if they're like, I never experienced it myself, you can go, do you know anybody that experienced it? No, not really. I don't really know anybody that experienced it. Well, what are your thoughts on people that actually pass away and they don't have anything in place? How do you think that would affect the family? So we still get the same answer. Right, we can still get them to the same exact conclusion that we was trying to get them to if we would have took them to the route of, have your wife ever experienced that from somebody else? We get them to the same exact place, right? So that's pretty much how we want to be able to approach that whole thing, knowing how to blend those things. But again, we want to keep it very, very short. Keep it short. We're going to say a little bit, just acknowledge, right? Acknowledge is like, oh, okay, I can appreciate. Like, one thing I always say is I can appreciate that. I asked him a question. So, God forbid you pass away tomorrow. As far as his house, would you want to make sure the house stay with the family, or is this something that you don't mind if they actually move into like an apartment? Well, yeah, I would definitely want to make sure the house is staying with the family. Yeah, I can appreciate that. Anything else? So you see how brief that is? Like, I can appreciate that. That's me acknowledging. Is there anything else in regards to that? Well, yeah, we worked hard to get this house, and you know, I just feel like it would be a waste to just let it go that way. You know, so okay, that makes a lot of sense. I can see why, you know, why you would say that. Is there you have any other thoughts or any other ideas as to, you know, why you want to make sure this house stay in the family? So you see how you can keep diving into this, to the same question, and people will keep coming up with new answers. Every answer they come up with, they're selling themselves even more on it. Right. And that's all we want to do is just keep diving in like that. And again, like, you know, if let's just say if we've been asking questions and, you know, there's been like the person hasn't been like really tripping up on anything like that, we can always just, you know, throw in some smooth. Let's just say you're having a conversation. Okay, so yeah, as far as the you know, let's say as far as your grandkids, I mean, you passed unexpected. I know you mentioned that you spend a lot of time with your grandkids on the weekend. You know, would you want to leave them a love letter behind, or is that not something you really care about doing? What do you mean a love letter? Oh, well, you know, in insurance terms, you know, a lot of you know, people with grandkids, they consider a check from an insurance company a sort of love letter. Is that something that you would like to leave to your grandchildren, or that's not something you really care about? So you see how I position the question, or is that not something you don't care about? Nobody is going to say I don't care about it. So it's a big chance they're going to say either, yeah, I would definitely like to leave my grandkids a love letter, right? Or if they think they can't afford to do that, they're still not going to say, you know, I don't care about that. They're still not going to say that. They'll say something like, oh, well, I don't think I would, you know, I would love to do that, but I don't think I would be able to afford to do anything extra outside of, you know, making sure my wife is taken care of. I can appreciate that. Well, let me ask you this. If money wasn't an issue, is that something that you would want to do? I'm asking you that question because I just like to know the people that I'm working with. I like to get a good feel for the people that I'm helping out. So with that being said, you know, if money wasn't an issue, is that something that you would actually want to do for your grandkids? Absolutely. So now you got them, you got some agreement on that now. You see how you get people to the same exact area just by changing up the question and making a little statement. Like you see, I made a little statement in there to, you know, give them something else to think on. Because as people, we only can draw from what we already know from our current experiences, right? We can only draw from our experiences, the knowledge that we have up to this point, the beliefs that, you know, we have up to this point, until somebody else come along and introduce us to something that we never considered, right? They may have never considered a love letter, but now since I said that, now it's like, that sounds pretty nice, right? So again, that's all. When you think about what we teach in prospecting, how to get inside the homes, right? We talk about induce, right? The person say, oh, I don't remember filling it out. That's not a problem. Typically when people, you know, fill out our forms, they just want to know how much the programs cost, how it can benefit their families, right? Or some people just need to know exactly what the plan consists of. Since you have me right now, what would you like to ask? So even though they didn't have anything before, they didn't remember anything before, they now have something to ask because I gave them something to ask me. And best believe it, if I gave you the questions, you know, I always say the same thing. I got the answers to it because I gave you the question, right? The question, the answers is always in the question, right? So that's how we want to approach this whole thing. You know, we asking these questions that we know the answers to. We're not going to always get the answer we want. We just got to rephrase the question. That's it. Okay. So again, when we're acknowledging what they're saying and everything like that, this is what let them know that we're actually listening. Right? Us doing the little, like a simple little, you know, HM, the person is going to feel like you're listening to them. It's like, oh, they listening. Okay. And they'll just keep rambling. Like, it's like there's going to be some people you're going to talk to that, like, you ask them one question, they go and they'll tell you everything if you don't cut them off and try to outshine them to show them that you have more knowledge. Right? Because that's another thing that we tend to do just as people, right? Sometimes we want to, you know, we like, oh, this person talking a lot. I want to actually show what I know. I want to show that I can add a lot of value to this as well. But in the sales, especially the life insurance sales conversation, like you only need to add value to what the person needs. Like we have access to all these products. We can solve so many problems. But if the person don't have a house, we shouldn't be talking about mortgage protection. Right? So we want to keep everything tailored to the person that we're talking to. You know, keep the questions, everything tailored to them, listening to their answers. Again, that's a force that draws people to you, right? It draws them into the conversation. So as long as you're making it obvious that you're listening to the people, you're in good shape. All right, literally. So learn how Secure Client CRM is helping agents receive a minimum of a 20x ROI while assisting with chargeback prevention. We created this because a countless number of agents are using CRM systems where the bells and whistles are there, but the financial gain isn't. As a bonus, if you click the link right now, you'll receive a free lead generation system that's generating agents leads as low as 30 cents per lead. Do you want to continue to go negative financially, or are you prepared to turn the ship around? If so, we'll talk soon. Have a blessed day.